Ceasefire talks between Russia and Ukraine began in Turkey overnight. Alina Polyakova is president and CEO of the Center for European Policy Analysis and an adjunct professor with Johns Hopkins University School of Advanced International Studies. Thanks for joining us. We'll start with what the prospects are for some type of ceasefire, Professor. And I think, just from looking at your notes, you might look at the reason Putin engages in this is just sort of to buy some time to continue with what he's been doing. Is there any chance that something positive could happen?
Well, unfortunately, the peace talks between Ukraine and Russia so far haven't produced any tangible results or breakthroughs, as both sides have said. In the past, we've seen Russia use these kinds of diplomatic negotiations as a way to delay a military regroup, meaning they have taken some very, very heavy losses in Ukraine. Some estimates suggest they've lost over 15,000 troops, 7 commanding officers. These are huge losses in military terms. And now they're looking for an opportunity to take some time out so they can regroup militarily. And these talks could just be a smokescreen for that. And the reason I say that with some skepticism is because we really haven't seen any goodwill on the side of Russia. As they're engaging in this peace talks, they're still increasing their bombardment of the rest of Ukraine and just intensifying what is already a really, really dire humanitarian situation.
Was there ever a time, Professor, where it would have been possible to allow Russia to get something from this? Would Zelensky have ever agreed to President Biden called it a minor incursion. Was there such a thing as a minor Crimea-type land grab, the eastern regions? So Zelensky says, we'll stay neutral, we won't enter NATO, and you keep what you've got there. But now Ukraine seems emboldened by the gains that they've made, so I don't know whether that's going to be on the table. And if that's not on the table, then how does Putin ever save face?
Well, it's not clear that was on the table for Russia. I mean, this war started in an unprovoked manner when Russia amassed 200,000 forces on Ukraine's border, said they weren't going to invade, and then launched a massive invasion heading directly for the capital. So from the very beginning, it seemed like Russia's goals were much bigger than just, let's say, retaining the regions they had already taken over and occupied in the east or in Crimea. So at this point, with the kind of destruction we've seen across Ukraine, not just in the east, I find it interesting that we're always trying to give Mr. Putin an off-ramp, but we don't really know what that is for him. We really need the Russians to come to negotiating table in a serious way and say, look, here's what we're willing to do. So far, they haven't done that. And what we've actually seen is just more intensifying bombing, indiscriminate shelling, and things of that nature. So I think it's really in Russia's court, the ball's in Russia's court, to say what their off-ramp is, rather than looking to the United States or even Ukraine to offer up options that are not going to be optimal for Ukraine in the long term. I do think President Zelensky is serious. His people are suffering, but he's also been very clear that any sort of compromise will have to be ratified by the Ukrainian parliament and also put to referendum by the Ukrainian people.